Welcome back to another episode of the What's Next podcast. As you can see, unfortunately, I'm missing my sidekick. I'm missing my Batman and Robin, Matt Fernandez, but we're going to be going over the Palm Beach Classic with teams Alpha and Omega. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you look at our last video to look at MCA Alpha and Omega to check out all of our uncommitted guys. Now let's talk about this tournament. The Palm Beach Classic was hosted by Prospect Select and Cacti of the Palm Beaches, Roger Dean, and probably some other spots that we didn't play at. But those were the two that we played at, and they were awesome, well taken care of. Shout out to all the people at Prospect Select. They're first class, and we have a very good relationship with them. And with that, we played some of the best competition. Alpha got a really tough draw with the teams that they played. If you look at the Prospect Select top Velo leaderboard, they probably faced every single one of those guys. So tough bid for them, but I still want to talk about a lot of those hitters. And they just did a very good job overall. Omega did a good job with the arms. The sticks really were something that stood out to me. So let's talk about it. Let's get it going. So let's start off with MCA Omega. I wish I could highlight everyone, but I'm just going to highlight a few players and the numbers and what they did this past tournament. The first person I want to talk about is Hayden Pellegrin, who went 8 for 11. Didn't even play every single game because we didn't make it to bracket play, unfortunately. Had 5 stolen bases and played shortstop every single game with us. Very clean hands. I think he's going to play a premier middle infield at the next level, left-handed bat. Here's some videos if you haven't seen him yet, but the swing is pure, can play at the next level, and the kid's a great kid. The next guy I want to talk about is Sebastian Rodriguez from Florida Christian, who went 4 for 9 with 5 stolen bases, a walk, and he's a 6'3" runner with a plus defensive tool. I know we talked about him a little bit on the last podcast, and I wish Matt was here to talk about him some more because he went to Florida Christian, but this kid is an absolute stud, and he actually bunts for a base hit. There was one time where I was coaching third base, but I know Matt and my pops were talking, and he hit a ground ball to first, and he beat it out. It was literally a regular PFP to where he hit a ground ball, pitcher had to cover, and he beat it out by about 2 steps. It wasn't a bang play. So stuff like that's very impressive. He's got probably, in my opinion, a 65 to 70 grade run tool, and did a really good job to start off the summer. The next guy I want to talk about is Tristan Escobar, who's a 2028 that caught every single game for us this tournament for Omega. He went 2 for 6 with 2 walks, and the 2 hits that he had were doubles at Roger Dean that were absolute bombs. They were warning track shots about to go over, so it was very impressive, and especially those happened on the last 2 games. The fact that he was able to keep his bat speed up while catching every game. The next thing I want to talk about really isn't my place because I'm not a pitcher at all, but this kid is. Eric Garcia, very impressive stuff for him. He was 85 to 86, hitting 87 a few times. He has a very free, loose arm that throws from a sidearm to 3/4 angle, and it's a true sinker. And the off speed he has is a sweeping slider. The situation we put him in was kind of funny because I think it was a bases loaded or second and third jam, something like that. He came in, first pitch, got a ground ball. He threw a sinker into a righty, got a ground ball to shortstop, got an out. And then after that, really settled in. I think he gave up 1 hard hit ball, and then it was really it never happened. So as a pitcher, something that, my dad said to the guys, it's listen, if you don't want to get hit and you're a pitcher, then don't pitch. And if you don't want to get out and you're a hitter, then don't hit. So stuff like that's going to happen. It's just about how you bounce back. And I feel like Eric bounced back really well whenever he did give that up, because if you're watching this and you play baseball, it's going to happen. Just recover well, and that's all you need to worry about. The last guy I want to highlight from Omega is Antonio Montes de Oca from California. His name could probably take up the whole video, so I'm just going to say Antonio. Antonio went 3 for 7 with 2 walks and played a very good middle infield alongside Hayden, turning multiple double plays. Antonio, when I first saw him to now, has been extremely better because I saw the hands at one of the showcases we had, and it was good, but it could have gotten better, and now it's gotten exponentially better. The bat, it already impressed me from the summer showcase because his exit velos were, I want to say, up to 104, 105. It's just an impressive thing to see because from the second base position, you want a guy that hits or you want a guy that has a bunch of juice, and I think Antonio can do a little bit of both because he hit 4, 5, 6 for us this tournament. And I felt very comfortable with him in runners in scoring position as a coach. I still want to mention some other hitters that we had that still had phenomenal tournaments, and these numbers are pretty freakish still. Let's talk about JC Leon, who went 3 for 8 with a very clean first base. The glove is real. He's a 6'4" frame, and he actually ran into one. I think he got jammed a little bit. Opposite field hit. That was I want to say right before the warning track. No, it was a warning track shot because it was a ground rule double. And that was some of the most impressive things I've seen. Gavin Mix, who hit lead off all 4 games for Omega, went 4 for 11 with some of the most quick twitch stuff I've ever seen. No offense to Gavin, but he might not run a 6'3" like Sebastian, but he's able to move very quick. He batted leadoff for a reason because he had 8 or 9 stolen bags this high school season, and the stuff that he does on the baseball field is legit. Let's talk about Brendan Bailey, who could probably play center field or any outfield position at the next level, but he had 2 diving plays that were absolutely crucial. And although he didn't probably have the prettiest numbers because he bunted for a base hit, had some sacrifice bunts, and some crucial things that he did to help our team win, there was a specific coach watching every single game that loved how hard he played, loved his discipline in the box, and loved the way he played defense, to where I don't want to give too much information, but the rest is history thus far. And just so you know, that goes to show that you never know who's watching. Even if things don't roll your way with baseball, to be honest, they're not supposed to, because if you're successful 3 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer if you're a hitter, but you never know who's watching. So make sure that no matter what you do, no matter what your numbers are, that you do things the right way. Last guy on Omega is Bo Livingston, who started our first game and had 3 innings of no hit ball, when honestly I told him that his stuff wasn't the best, and he was like, listen man, I agree. And to give Bo some slack, he didn't use this excuse, but I did, because we were waiting about an hour and a half for the game in front of us to finish up, and he didn't complain once or anything, but I was like, man, this is tough. This is our first game, and I know Bo's a stud, so to give him some slack, he didn't have, in my opinion, he wasn't able to show his best stuff because we had to wait so long, and he was stretching for so long because we had it timed out that way. But he never used that excuse, even on a day where maybe he wasn't so polished and his velo was still up, but his off-speed maybe could have been better. He still threw 3 innings of no-hit ball, and they didn't score a run. So I think that in itself is pretty impressive on what Bo can and will be in the future. Now let's talk about Alpha. Alpha, I'll tell you what, you can only go up from here. But there was some very bright spots that I saw with this lineup that we put together. Let's start off with the only home run that we had for both teams. So Manny Loud had 5 at-bats, 3 walks, and a big-time bomb the last game at Roger Dean. I want to say it was his last at-bat, too, to tie the game. And it wasn't even one of those things where it was like a corner shot. First of all, it was in the power alley, which if you ever played at Roger Dean, that's a very tough spot to hit it, and it was gone off the bat. It wasn't a wall scraper, so pretty impressive stuff out of Manny, and shout out to him. Next up is Adrian Pinedo, who I had the privilege of coaching this spring. So I've seen the strides he has, the potential he has, and it showed this weekend. Adrian went 4 for 8 with an extra base hit and 5 stolen bases, which I think he could have been up there with Hayden with some of the most hits in the tournament, but he got hit a lot, he walked a lot, and so he's just an all-around complete hitter because he's going to do whatever it takes to get on base, and when he gets on base, it's 5 stolen bases. So not only that, but he plays in elite center field. His first step is legit some of the best that I've seen. And we played elite squad, which I don't know the kid's name, but the pitcher that threw against us, probably top of the leaderboard, like I said. But that kid was very good, and Adrian was one of the only hits. I think he was the only hit off that guy. So it kind of shows the bat-to-ball skills that Adrian possesses as well. Next, I want to talk about Keniel Nieves from the island of Puerto Rico. They produce some studs, by the way. So Keniel went 3 for 9, which could have been better because the barrels he had, like the first game, he barreled one up, line drive, and it was caught. It was actually a crazy play, which would have had some RBIs too. Played a very clean defense at shortstop, which he played for us 3 games, and he even got on the mound against, I want to say, elite squad again, and he shoved. He did really well, and he's not one of those guys that, oh, you know what, let's go up there and just throw the rock. He's actually a pitcher. He was spinning it well. He was striking guys out. And he's a pure competitor because we were like, hey, Keniel, like you want to, rest a little bit? He was like, no, man, I feel good. I want to go after it. Granted, we do that monitored. He wasn't at 50, 70 pitches. He was a lot lower than that. But he was like, listen, man, I want to go out there, compete. And we could never take the bat out of his hands either because it's an impressive stick as well. And what me, Matt, and Merv talked about was that it kind of reminded us a little bit of Steven Ondina, which played at FIU, played at Arizona State, and played in the Orioles organization. And what I mean by that is not the tallest frame, but a very quick, fast twitch player that could play shortstop, shoot it across the diamond well, could get on the mound, probably run it up, but can also have a very good hit tool and can steal bags whenever possible. And if that sounds like a little bit of everything, it kind of is. Next up, let's talk about Jake Semple, who went 3 for 7 with, I think, 2 hit by pitches, 1 walk, and 3 RBIs. He was a very consistent 4-hole for Alpha, and that's a kid that impressed me very much with the stick. And when I say that, I'm not surprised that he was able to notch 3 hits. I was more surprised that he was able to spray it around as much as he could because his discipline in the zone has always been very impressive with me. Even with the high school season where he was like, man, I could have hit better. He never left the zone. And if you play high school ball or ever have, the umpires, shout out to them though. We got some very nice ones, but that sometimes they could be inconsistent. And the more up you go, the more inconsistent it feels like they get. But Semple really does a good job of staying in his zone, and I think with the bat-to-ball skills that he showed this weekend, it's almost a no-brainer for the rest of the summer season that he's going to end up at a good spot. Oh, and if you haven't watched the last video, by the way, he's like 6'4", so big kid too. Next, let's talk about Yasiel Cabre out of Southridge High School. So Yasi went 3 for 8 on the tournament against some tough pitching. And I think the most impressive thing with him is that he went from 8-hole to 1-hole by the end of the tournament. 1 hole's actually lead off. I would cut that off, but I kind of want you guys to hear how much I blundered that too. But Yasi's a kid that got on the mound too, but I think his future, man, is with the stick, because what he can do with that, and I think as a hitting guy, he gets on planes so early. And the first at-bat that he hadn't seen live pitching in a while, I was like, hey, Yasi, like the swing looks good. You just got to get on time. I'm not taking credit for this. This is all him because he was able to adjust so quick. The next at-bat, he got a base knock. And the rest is history because he went 3 for 8 with some good barrels too. And obviously making that jump from 8th batter to leadoff is very hard to do, but very impressive. So really like the strides he took in even the 4 games we had, and excited what he has in store for the rest of the summer. Last up on Alpha, let's talk about the brother of Yasiel, Jordan Cabre, who's a 2029. So Jordan caught our second game, and on the weekend had some opportunities to hit as well, and he went 2 for 6 on the weekend and handled the bat extremely well. If it hasn't been noted yet, Alpha faced some of the best pitchers in bracket play, so the composure of Jordan was overlooked in my opinion, because he's a class of 29, and a lot of the 27s, even not even on our team, but all around that I was watching too, like a lot of them, like it was happening quick, it was speeding up, they were taking really big swings, and Jordan never really left the zone, and I think it showed. He went 2 for 6 against, some pitching that's pretty good, I would say. If you haven't yet, make sure that you sign up for our MCA Summer Showcase July 31st to August 1st. Time and location is TBD, but make sure you're there to be a part of the 7%. Lastly, since MCA was built upon servicing all of our clients, I want to talk about 2 guys that were a part of the tournament that also did extremely well and caught the attention of a few college coaches. The first guy I want to talk about is Max Boyer, who played with his high school team, went 7 for 11, made it all the way into the championship game in the national bracket. Max is a utility player, and I'm pretty fired up because he's going to be with us for our Black Bear Classic tournament and our Atlanta tournament, which is going to be a huge addition to the lineup. And honestly, just a great way for him to showcase himself in front of, I think, a very action-packed team that, of course, I read off a lot of the numbers that they did this weekend. And the other guy I want to talk about is Merritt Campbell. Make sure you turn the volume up on this because this is some impressive numbers we have here. So the first tournament that Merritt had, he went 8 for 11 with 5 doubles and stood out at our first workout in terms of the college coaches that were watching. I'm also fired up about this because those numbers will also be playing for MCA Alpha in the Black Bear Classic. So there it is. There's the highlight of the Palm Beach Classic for our summer MCA Alpha and Omega teams, as well as 2 other clients that we had that were a part of that tournament. If you guys missed Matt, make sure you leave a comment because he reads them and he's going to love seeing it. And if you want someone else that's new, maybe it's Merv, maybe it's Luis, maybe it's Jamar, maybe it's Joel, or maybe it's someone that's totally random, make sure you let me know because I'm going to reach out to them, or Matt Fernandez is going to reach out to them because if you haven't yet noticed, he has a blue check on his Instagram profile. But enough of the joking around. I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for our update on the Black Bear Classic. And if you haven't yet, make sure you check out melendezcollegiateadvising.com to be a part of the 7%.